Make that big boss less special. It ain't no game, but they saying welcome to the second level. Second level. Second level gaming. Second level.
Hello, Internet, and welcome back, or welcome to Indie Please Add Details, episode 14. My name's Keegan, one half of Level 2 Gamers, hanging out with Bangers and Mash himself. Tom, how you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm good. I've been playing a lot of Assassin's Creed. Yeah, it's chilly today. I have no pants. Well, I don't say I don't have pants on. I have shorts on.
You do.
So so the bottom half is like
kind of your
t-shirt.
own fault.
Yeah, I'm inverted right now. Normally I wear pants. Well, normally I just
coat
wear
on and shorts on.
Yeah, and flip flops.
And flip flops.
Yeah, it's like 55 degrees outside right now.
My basement is chilly.
Yeah. But this is Indie Please Details, our weekly dip into the world of indie games and indie developers, where we discuss the news and our indie excursions throughout the week. Topping it off with a topic of conversation that you can join in the comments down below. You can list us on your favorite podcast services: iTunes, Google Play, Stitcher, SoundCloud, and many, many others. That's all I got. Or you can see our lovely faces along with gameplay footage behind us on level2gamers.com. That's level, the number 2, gamers.com. And to continue the discussion, I'm on a roll right now. to continue the discussion off air, but online.
Yeah, you get that part.
You can hit us up on Twitter at level2gamersstl or Discord. Link in the description. I just drank a shot of Red Bull, so that's probably why.
Shot of Red Bull?
I pulled it on the screen.
Did you shoot it directly into your arms?
Yeah, but you'll see it'll go away. Every so often, I drink a green can of Red Bull, and I'm sure you're aware.
It's an invisible drink.
It goes invisible when you can see. Well, depending on how you hold it.
If you hold it in front of your jacket,
you can still see. No, it'll still go away.
Still go away
because it keys everything out.
I guess.
Doesn't matter if it's the background or not. So let's hop into Indie Please Add Details. We have a 4-detail day. It was tough finding news this week.
Yeah.
A couple of them came to me. A couple of them I had to go hunt.
It's that time of year, isn't it? It's that time of year when the AAAs have taken over and the indies have largely
like I said, I've been playing
a
lot of Assassin's Creed, as you know.
Indies, I feel,
kind of
do better during the year because that's when the lull in AAAs is, and now we're at the point where it's kind of just like
it's getting ready for holiday season.
Yeah, it's all the big ones.
Black Friday sales are happening. Lots of things on Black Friday sale. I haven't seen really good indies on Black Friday, but the official Black Friday sale hasn't started yet.
No,
it's the early access Black Friday sale.
Yeah.
But detail number 1, Echoes of the Fey has a Kickstarter. Do you know what Echoes of the Fey is?
Yeah, it's the St. Louis guys, right? They're one of the local St. Louis peoples. Yes. Yeah.
Echoes of the Fey is a fantasy visual novel series, and they have a Kickstarter to continue funding. So I played, and the footage you will see behind me is part 1. I think it's called The Fox's Trail. Okay. Is the name of it. The one they're trying to make now is called The Last Sacrament. And I don't know how many parts they're trying to do. I want to say it's 4 or 5, because it seems to be standard nowadays.
That's a nice number.
Yeah, I want to say it's that, but I don't know exactly. But let me read the description to you. So is it like
Telltale-y?
Kind of.
Okay.
Let me read the description to you. Echoes of the Fey is an ongoing series of detective stories in a high fantasy setting. Play as Sofia Rykov, a private investigator with a dangerous secret of her own. She's the only human who can wield magic. Each episode offers a standalone experience with unique gameplay and branching storylines. When first creating this project, we wanted to explore the variety of themes through the war-ridden landscape or Oraz. The primary conflict brews between two races, humans and Leshins, aka elves. So, yes, you can also Leshins.
Leshin.
L-E-S-H-I-N.
Yeah.
You can also download a demo build of this on the Kickstarter if you want to try it out before you back it. But they are looking to get $7,500, the just shy of 1,000 right now. So Woodsy Studio, how this happened, how I found out about this was I was I'm in the Facebook group for the St. Louis devs.
St. Louis Dev Co-op.
And I was like, hey, does anybody have anything, like any games coming out, any updates on a project? Because we run a podcast. We'd love to share the local stuff as well as going to the news sources and talking about the it's weird saying big indie devs, but like the more well-known indie devs.
Yeah, that's fine. That's fair. It's a good comment.
So, yeah, and then Jenny reached out to me, who's one of the people creating this, and said, yeah, we actually have our Kickstarter going live this week.
That's awesome.
It was funny because she sent it to me, I think, on Wednesday, and I was like, well, I got to put it in next week because we already recorded for this week.
But they're nice guys, Woodsy. They're big on the St. Louis scene. They've been here for a while, and this game sounds interesting. Really.
So with the Fox's Trail, when you start it up, it literally says the first screen you see is made in St. Louis. So they're proud of being from St. Louis. Cool. And then it says their name and it says other things going on. You can buy Chapter 1, The Fox's Trail, now on PSN, and I believe it's on PC as well, on Steam. It was $8 full price, so it's not too bad, especially for an episodic thing. I ended up picking up and playing it. If you're not a big fan of talking in games, like text, dialogue, chat back and forth, a lot of that, because it's an investigative game, then this may not be for you. But if you love the investigative nature, if you love that back and forth of, like, you have to listen to what they say to discover things, and you have different branches based on... So, like, give an example. The very first conversation you have with somebody is, should you take on a certain case? And, well, it starts off with you transformed into a cat, and I was so confused. But the first conversation you have is, should you take a certain case? And then based on the conversation you overheard as a cat, because you were not part of the conversation, you just heard the back and forth, you then have different questions you can ask the person about taking on the case and what it would entail and all this kind of stuff.
Gotcha.
So you choose A if you wanted to talk about A, you choose B, and you can skip stuff and all those kind of things. And but it is very text heavy.
Is it all kind of like face text? Is there any movement at all?
There's no movement in the chat. Like, it's face and text. There is in between stuff. You have movement between different areas.
So it's kind of a traditional game in that sense.
Yeah. The weird part to me, and I think this is probably why they want Kickstarter, is some of the audio, like, they had some of the stuff voiced over. Like, the whole intro is all voiced over. The first conversation was all voiced over. And then once you get into the game, they react to what's being said, but they don't say what's being said. So I was confused. I was sitting there because I'm very much a VO guy. I love voiceovers. I don't like reading when I'm playing a game. So I'm sitting back, listening to the conversation, just paying attention. And then the next conversation, I sit back, assuming the same thing's going to happen again. And it's like, oh, I got to read this. So it was a bit weird with that. But again, some of the lines in there are still read.
Offer your services.
So, no, I'm not.
Do some monster voices.
No, they have no monsters.
What would you do for a fey voice? For a fairy voice?
I don't know.
The elf voice. Go.
I don't know. I mean, an elf would... it depends on where the elf's from.
Elfville. Elfville, Elfsiphonia.
Because it would be like a Scottish kind of mix to him. It's like it's real bad Scottish accent. I don't know.
Elves are Scottish.
Yeah, because isn't that where isn't Frodo from?
Dwarves are Scottish.
I don't know.
Dwarves have Scottish accents.
I don't know.
Elves just sound like they're like upper class aristocracy in my head. That's what they are.
Yeah,
right? They're all like, oh yes, of
all
course.
fancy.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, Sophia is not fancy because she's a human that has powers. The other guy is kind of cool. I can't remember his name. It has it in here. It is... I'm blanking off the top of my head the name of this character. Harriman, or Caldi. Yeah. But the art style in this is really, really cool. It's really well done. Like I said, my thing was the... And I'm going to get into a little bit more during the spotlight today. But the audio not being voiced over everything. But if you want to play it for yourself, you can... Like I said, you can pick up part 1. It's already out. On PC and PS4. I don't believe it's on Xbox. And you can play the demo of The Last Sacrament for this. And one of the reasons they're going Kickstarter is because they want to make the game, and obviously it takes money to make a game, and they said they have said they're going to make this game. It's just a matter of how long it's going to take.
It's kind of interesting to me. Like they already have one chapter out, right? And I'm assuming it did like decently well enough for them to want to make a second chapter. But I'm kind of wondering like the money from the first game, like how much of that was put into the thought process for this game? Like, was it just like kind of paying themselves? Like, how do developers work on an episodic game? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, I guess it doesn't matter if it's episodic or not, but it's just kind of a question that I had. I'd love to ask them that. Actually, I'm sure they can reply if they're probably watching. But yeah, it's kind of interesting to me. Like, once you make the first game and you sell it and it does relatively well, then like, and you kind of want to make a sequel to it. Like, how much of that money goes into the sequel?
Well, how much did they make?
Goes
That's the
into
other
you
thing.
Living? You know what I mean?
How much
like,
did they make?
That's a tough toss up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, Echoes of the Fey, Kickstarter, link will be down in the description below for it. Cool. Go check it out. You can play the demo, like I said, of the new one. I've not played the demo of the new one. I think the demo is PC only. I'm gonna click this link real quick and see if it takes me to Steam. No, it takes me to .io.
Itch?
So it is itch. So it is PC only.
Cool.
Requirements: Windows 7 or higher, AMD 7500, 4 gigs of RAM. So nothing crazy there.
So if you fancy it, check the link below in the description and check out Echoes of the Fey, the Last Sacrament demo, or go ahead and pick up, what was the other one, Fox or something?
The Fox's Trail.
The Fox's Trail.
This
But
is
yeah,
part one.
good luck to the Woodsy Studio with that. We hope that they succeed.
Next thing, coming from DualShockers.
DualShockers.
DualShockers.com. That's DualShock controller. I know, but DualShock controller is what it's from.
Right.
Little Witch Academia gets new PS4 gameplay showing couch co-op and new character.
Cool.
Do you know anything about Little Witch Academia?
Not a whole lot. I mean, I know
the
it's an anime and everything, but I've never watched it. But yeah, very popular anime.
You ready for this one?
Sure.
Today, during a live stream hosted by the Japanese magazine Dengeki PlayStation, Bandai Namco presented.
I want to see if you got that right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, well done.
Presented plenty of new gameplay of Little Witch Academia Chamber of Time. The gameplay was introduced directly by producer Yuki Futami, who most will know from Sword Art Online games.
I do know
You know
that.
those games.
I do know those games.
In the first clip at the bottom, you can see, or behind us, I guess, for this is on DualShockers, you can see the debut of the brand new NPC character that was actually designed by fans, especially for the video game. On top of that, we also get to see some couch co-op with 2 players tackling 2 dungeons occupied by a third character controlled by the AI. You can see those in the second and third clip.
So one player 2, and then an AI.
Yep. Little Witch Academia Chamber of Time will launch in Japan on November 30th exclusively for the PS4, and will be coming west in early 2018, getting a PC version on top of the one for the Sony's console. So
I'll check it out.
It's
sure.
Japanese. I had this anime in my list when I went. You know, when I threw the anime kick and watched Death Note and a few other ones. This is one that I have in my list of like.
This looks like you'd probably enjoy it. It just looks like a female Japanese Harry Potter to me.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think it'd be worth a go. But I mean, I didn't
know there was a game.
I don't like playing games based on animes if I've never seen the anime. Like, it's weird. Like, the only one that I've done that for is Danganronpa, but everything, although I think the animes actually were made after the game was, but like, Sword Art Online, Attack on Titan, all that stuff, like, and Psycho Pass, I can only really play those if I have a vague inkling of the story, because the stories are so fucking, like, convoluted. I feel like in a game form, I would just instantly be lost.
Like, what?
Yeah.
That's where they do all the talking at the beginning, back and forth.
I guess. Yeah.
And I know this is not indie, but I'm gonna add this in because it's on here right now. Animal Crossing Pocket Camp available today.
Yay!
That makes me excited. I'm gonna go download that when we're done.
I don't think I've ever played an Animal Crossing.
Dude, Animal Crossing is like I don't know if you'd be a huge fan of it. It's definitely a me game to the extent of like management stuff.
You just have a farm, right, or something?
Yeah, it's a Sims game essentially.
I saw there was like a picture that was going around on the internet from someone that hadn't played Animal Crossing in like 6 years or something because they put their console away, and when they went back, one of the characters was like, "We haven't seen you in 1,072 days or whatever." And he was just like, "Fuck, man!"
It's like when you killed your Tamagotchi back in the day. You're like,
talking about a guilt trip. Like, where have you been, Master?
Other news from DualShockers: Tricky Towers. Did you ever play this one? I think it was a PSN free game for a little while. I have it. Gets a physical release for both PlayStation 4 and PC versions.
What's the... Is this one is like stacking game?
It's the stacking game.
Okay.
You know how I like my stacking game.
You do. Stacking on stacking on stacking.
It was way back in August when we learned that Weird Beard Games and Sodesco were planning a physical release for their physics-based tower building game Tricky Towers. Today, the creators announced that the physical release is officially available along with a new trailer that lists some of the game's best features. Physical release for Tricky Towers is for the PS4 and PC versions of the game and includes features from the original game such as 17 different spells, online leaderboards, trial challenges, and of course the game's praised local or online 4-player competitive gameplay. Tricky Towers is a spiritual successor to iOS and Android title 99 Bricks Wizard Academy. Don't know how we got Tricky Towers out of that, but we did. Today's game...
the witches and wizards today, man.
Yeah. Today's game asks that the players stack bricks to create towers that will remain upright. However, as it progresses, opponents will do all they can to topple each other's towers with dark spells, making for a more frantic session every time. The physical version of Tricky Towers is now available on PS4 and PC. You said that already. The game is also available digitally for Xbox One and includes exclusive single-player mode. You can also find the most recent trailer announcing the game's physical release in the video provided.
Have you ever played it?
Yeah, I love this. I was gonna say if we get 4 people here, also I need to bring DualShocks when we do the 24-hour live stream.
That's true.
24-hour live stream coming up, guys.
Oh, yeah, we'll talk about that later.
Yeah. But we should play this 4-player co-op because it's one of those games you just fuck with each other.
It's chaos.
Yeah, that and Rocket League I think would be good on for the live stream.
Can you play Rocket League local co-op?
Yeah.
You can?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. But no, I like Tricky Towers. You know, again, I
like stacking games.
I love
I'm fine with
puzzle. I
stacking
love my
games.
puzzle games. I love stacking games, and it's just this one. What's really fun about it is how much dickery it has with you as you go along.
Dickery.
Yeah. So you start off,
Is
and
that
you,
a word you just invented?
no, it's a real word.
Fuckery
Hey
is a
Siri.
word. Dickery I've never heard.
Haven't you heard Hickory Dickory Dock? The mouse ran up the clock.
That's true. But I don't think that's the same context you're using it in.
Didn't say it was, but it's still a word. Your original question was, is it a word? And I said, yes.
All right.
But no, so what I like about it is you stack it up and eventually, like, you have a line for a lot of levels. You have to keep it above, and it has to be stable. Like, you have a countdown.
It's physics based, right?
Yeah.
So
But then witches and wizards show up and go whoop and shoot stuff at it, or they'll give you things that it's like a lot like Stacks and Stacks and Stacks, but 2D version of it. And they'll throw like things at you, like angles, or they'll throw music notes, or they'll throw various different other things. I think a piano they also will toss at you every so often. That is really heavy, so if you don't get it centered, it'll easily knock everything over. And it's like any other puzzle game that once you knock a block off, a block counts as a strike, and I think you get 3 strikes and you're done.
right. Do you
but
have
it-
any control
it gets more and
over
more fuckery.
The wizard
The fuckery?
people?
I don't know, I'm not-
The
I'm-
dickery.
I've not, Dickory, Hickory Dickory.
Hickory dickory.
I don't know. I've not played it multiplayer.
Dickory
I've only played it single player. Hold on.
It's been a weird day, guys. It's been a really
We
weird
just
day.
started.
I know.
Is Dickory a word? Hold on.
Don't look it up. If it is, it doesn't mean anyway. You just, I don't even know. I'm gonna let him do that. Yeah, Tricky Towers looks interesting though. I mean, I like those stacking games, like whether it's Tetris or Columns or whatever. Like, Columns is a bit different, but like they're always fun.
It's an Urban Dictionary. The state of being a dick. Damn, that guy's Dickory is off the charts.
Fair enough. All
When
right.
playing a game in such a way to piss off anyone who is playing with you or against you, to turn being a dick into a viable way of playing a game. It's only Dickory if they are aware of what they are
Did you
doing.
write
when
that
they-
entry before you came in today? It's
beautiful, though.
Exactly
Yeah.
what you were using it for.
Quit doing the same move over and over again. That's just pure Dickory.
Wow. I stand
No.
corrected.
Yeah, see? Urban Dictionary. Get on my level, Tom. And final detail for the day. This one you might care about. So, speaking of physical releases,
Yeah.
there's a game that came out last year
Yeah.
called Axiom Verge.
Yeah.
And it's officially got a physical release
Yay. Good for
starting
that
this
guy.
week. So I'm excited about that. That game is a lot of fun. If you haven't picked it up, go pick
great
it up. It's a great game.
Great
It's,
Metroidvania,
honestly
all done by one
Metroid-based.
guy, which is the most impressive part about it. Is it's kind of like, if you like that sort of 80s vibe with your games, kind of like cyber, I don't want to say like cyberpunk, but it's kind of like, it's definitely interesting. That 80s aesthetic to it, lots of shiny purples and blues and things like that. But it's basically a love letter to Metroid and those style of games. But it was all done by one guy. He did the sound, all of the actual developer work, all the publishing work, all the promotional work, everything. And it's super impressive. But by that alone, it's super impressive. But the fact that it's actually gotten to a point where he can now release it physically is really awesome. I wonder who helped him with that, whether it's just funds or
I know. I
if
just saw.
Sony did it, or...
So I saw it on the blog, so it doesn't tell you. It just says retail version.
That's
so.
cool though. That's
Yeah,
cool.
I
I'm
was
glad to
excited
see
about that.
him be able, because like getting an indie game in a physical version is almost like a badge of honor these days. I feel like everyone can have a digital download, but having the physical one is like saying, yeah, this game was good enough that we actually want to put it in a box.
Yeah.
So that's cool. Good for him.
And then one last thing, again, not technically indie, but if you haven't picked up this game, you might want to pick it up because it's free. Brutal Legend is free now on Humble Bundle, and that also supports charity. So you know how
Brutal
much we
Legend is in the Jack
charity.
Black game
Yep.
by Double Fine.
Yep.
Cool.
So Double Fine. I don't know if they're technically indie, but they're
Double Fine. Are
also
indie as fuck.
they're also
I mean, they're
well-known.
they're just like really popular.
Tim
indie.
Schafer. So it's free on Humble Bundle right now.
Is that PS4 or PC?
That's gonna be PC. I have a feeling. I can double check.
That's
though.
great though. Brutal
Yeah,
Legend was cool. Real fun.
It's one of those games I think it's funny because it's PC. It's one of those games that it's PC, Mac, and Linux.
Sweet.
So I'm gonna finish my sentence. It's one of those games that when it was shown off, people thought it was one game and it ended up being strategy-based game.
No one really knew
Yeah.
what to expect, but it was cool. I liked it a lot actually when I played it, and the fact that they had all these kind of cameos from like Ozzy Osbourne and stuff in there was super sweet. And plus, going off the rails on a crazy train. But
R.I.P. Randy Rhoads. Dude, I love me some Randy Rhoads. Did you ever tangent here for Ozzy Osbourne? Did you ever watch? Can't remember what channel it was on, but it was Jack and Ozzy like touring the country and doing
You told
stuff.
me about this on one of our first podcasts ever.
Yeah.
No, I didn't.
I can't remember. I think like World Detoured or World Toured or something like that. I can't remember what it's called.
Yeah.
But anyways, one of the things they did is they went to the studio where they recorded Crazy Train, and they still have the master of Crazy Train there. And Ozzy is listening because he's not heard the original Crazy Train in a long, like we're talking like, or not master, the original recording, unmastered. And he's not heard in a long time. And when the guitar kicks in, he just starts crying because he tells these stories about Randy Rhoads. And for those who don't know Randy Rhoads was the guitar player for Ozzy Osbourne. I can't remember how he died. I want to say it's probably drugs, I believe. I'm not 100% sure on that, but I could be wrong.
Yeah.
But
drugs or an accident.
Yeah.
One or the other.
Yeah, one of the two. And it was just crazy seeing the emotion this guy, because the guy can't even speak, but man, when he was talking about Randy Rhoads, you could tell he was just like, part of him didn't want to listen to the song because it brought back those emotions, but part of him at the end, he was like, I'm glad you guys played that for me.
Yeah.
Because you could hear
I've heard
Randy's
mixed things
guitar.
on Ozzy. Most people seem to think he's a pretty chill dude, but like I think he's got some weird stuff going on with his wife right now, isn't he? Like he's like cheated on her or something.
I mean, yeah.
She's fucking nuts anyway, though. Who cares?
Well, you have to put up with Ozzy.
Yeah,
so.
that's true. But he's fucking Ozzy. I mean, you know what you're putting up with. If you're putting
Guy
up
that
with Ozzy.
bit a head off a bat.
Yeah,
She was his manager for the longest time too. I think that's a bad idea.
That's definitely
never
a bad
have
idea.
never have your significant other be your manager.
Don't do it.
So, but that's the news for the week.
Sideline.
We had the Echoes of the Fey Kickstarter. We had Little Witch Academia get the PS4 release and new gameplay or new character, new trailer. Tricky Towers getting physical release, and Axiom Verge getting physical release.
Cool. What's your spotlight?
So my spotlight this week is, and I talked about it a little bit before, Echoes of the Fey. The Fox one. The Fox's Trails.
Foxy
not
lady.
the Last Sacraments. It's not out yet.
Echoes of the Fey, Foxy Lady.
The Foxy Lady. So, again, kind of echoing what I said before, this game is $8 on PS4 and PC. And it's quite interesting. It's not really a me game. I did it because, like I said, they reached out and said, hey, we had Kickstarter. I was like, let me play the game so I know what it is, what I'm getting into. I knew what it was, didn't know how it played.
Right.
If that makes sense.
And they were at Pixel Pop when we were there. We just never had a chance to talk to them.
Correct. So I played the game. They didn't give me a key. Like I said, I bought it, and it's a good game. Again, it's just not my type of game. The dialogue back and forth, I wasn't a huge fan of, and then, like I said, the dialogue cutting out when you got into the game was a bit weird. But the story itself is really interesting. I really love where it's going. Where I finished the gameplay was kind of the gist of the story is this lady comes in. Her son was fighting in a war, and it sounds like it's the war of races essentially. So it's the humans versus the Leshens.
Oh, sorry.
Leshens.
Call them by their original name.
And there's this big battle that happened that a lot of people died in, and he was a guard at a concentration camp essentially, and she was told he died, but she doesn't believe he's dead. She can feel him through the Fey, which to me it sounds like a Force-esque thing.
Gotcha.
You can feel things through nature, through different things, whatever. That's the vibe I was getting from it, and I'm sure it's some sort of magic base because the game has high fantasy involved.
I always thought Fey was a term for fairy, so I was very confused. When it says Echoes of the Fey, I thought this game was entirely about fairies.
No, there's no fairies involved as far as I've seen yet.
That's a shame.
So one of the things they had was the mom comes in, asks the owner of the private investigative, I guess, I don't want to call it shop because that's not the right word, but
The PI place.
walked into the PI place.
Yeah.
The guy there, so you start out as a cat, you're listening to the conversation between the guy and the mom, and the guy turns down this because you don't know if you can trust her because she's the other side of the race war. You don't know if the person's dead. You don't know what kind of can of worms is going to open up. He was a government employee, so is it a cover-up? Is there other things involved? Like, Did they hit him off? Like that kind
Super
of thing.
sketch.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So he was like, I don't feel comfortable taking it. So she left. You then de-transform. You pull a freaking McGonagall. Do you watch Harry Potter?
I have seen it.
Professor McGonagall is
Cat
transfiguration. Yeah, she transforms we transform from a cat to a human. And then we talk about how you're not supposed to do that. And then you talk about kind of why didn't you take the contract, and you go back and forth, and you have different dialogue options. But essentially what it ends up to in the end from that first conversation is you want to take the contract.
I mean, it is very much
go
a
hunt her
visual
down.
novel.
Yes.
It's not so much. I mean, there's gameplay elements, obviously, like you said, but it's not really like if you're looking for an action-packed like
It's not going to be
thing.
this.
I mean, because what is it? The Wolf Amongst Us on Telltale.
Wolf Among Us?
Yeah, it was similar in nature because that was based on the fairy tale series. There was like a comic book series. I forget the name of it now.
The Wolf Among Us.
No, it wasn't called that. It was called something else, which is I'm blanking on. But it was basically like it was all the kind of fairy tale characters in this, and like had been moved to like New York or whatever.
So Shrek.
And they kind of, and they were like, you know, had normal jobs and shit like that. It's almost like Once Upon a Time, and they like the story is a detective story. You're trying to find out who murdered someone. It was like Snow White or something, and then. But it's obviously more action based because like Telltale games are all about like, you know, press this, go here, dodge this, dodge that.
This was push X to go to the next dialogue.
Yeah,
box.
this was more just like in a story, just like reading a story, which is similar to my Spotlight. But yeah, go ahead.
So you end up taking the case. You ask a few questions about the kid and kind of get some background story, and then you go hunting for clues. And as you go along, you find different people along the road that know who you are, and they ask you to do favors. Sometimes those favors conflict with what you're trying to do, so you got to figure out whether you want to do A, B, or C, and how you want to approach A, B, and C. And what's really cool from what I've gathered, again, I've only played it for about an hour and a half, 2 hours, is when I made a decision, it doesn't tell you like most games do, like Fallout 4 when I shot a nuke inside the Brotherhood of Steel's ship because I hated them. It doesn't say this may affect your ending. It just you assume it's going to affect the ending somehow because some person asked me to do a favor. I refused because he seemed a bit sketchy on us. It sounded the way I took it from when I approached him was he wanted to use me to get information, but he did not care about me because I have something in my past that I don't know about yet that has caused some issue with legal things.
Probably
and
he was turning into.
Yeah, he's a cop kind of person. I don't know what to call him in the world, but he's a
detective.
No, he's like a law enforcement person essentially. I don't know what he actually physically or what his title is.
So it's a bit like those moments in Walking Dead Telltale where it says like Clementine will remember that, like when you do
essentially,
something.
but it doesn't tell you.
Right.
Yeah. So I'm just assuming that these are going to pay off at the end. But it'd be interesting to see how many branches there are. Like I'm not expecting a fucking Until Dawn branch like there is because it's obviously a smaller game. But I am intrigued by the story. The story's kind of cool, and somebody who doesn't really like high fantasy, somebody who really doesn't like elves, which is funny because I play Elder Scrolls, but I don't like Lord of the Rings. I don't like that kind of stuff.
You would if you would try any of it.
I've tried Lord of the Rings. No, I've tried Lord of the Rings.
Lord of the Rings movies are boring, though.
I tried watching Lord of the Rings 3 times, 2 times with
you fell asleep, right?
No, 2 times with a girlfriend, and then 1 time on my own because I was like, maybe I just wasn't paying attention the first 2 times.
They're super sluggish, though. That's a problem. I mean, the movies were
because I love Harry Potter. That was my thing. Is like people like you love Harry Potter. You should like Lord of the Rings. I was like, that's not how that works.
Lord of the Rings is tough. It's
it's like kind of like how I like Star Wars, but not Star Trek.
There's like killer moments, but there's a lot of like literally back and forth dialogue where you're just like it's like 20 minutes of some dude talking to some other chick, and then you're just like, like I fell asleep a lot in Lord of the Rings movies, but they are good movies.
So there's a lot of that going on, and I'm hoping, like I said, the payoff at the end is worth it. I'm interested to see because it's a standalone experience, but it has obviously part 2, 3.
Do they carry it forward?
Going on. That's what I'm interested to see is how this is going to work going forward, and where this episode ends. So I've not made it to the end yet, but seeing does it have a cliffhanger that makes sense? Is it wrapped up, but then there's something else that comes in then in the last sacrament that you're like, oh, that makes sense of why. Is it just like a shift instead of this story's done, now you have to deal with this person's feelings on that story, type thing? Like, how does it all?
How's the art style?
Amazing. 2D, hand drawn. I don't know how to. It's definitely westernized. It's not anime style. I'm trying to think of something to compare it to because immediately when I saw it, it made me feel like I was watching like. I mean, I don't want to say Cartoon Network because it's not right, but it definitely it had a Cartoon Network style feel, but it was more adult feeling in the art. It reminded me of a lot of like when you go to cons and you see like the drawings of people that are in the cartoon style, but it's definitely made to look more like you can hang it on your wall versus something else. So that's a really bad description of it, but that's
all right.
But
I understand.
But the art style is one of the things that I really, really loved about it, and I wish they had more, like, because they do the body pose thing when you're talking, so they'll be like, and I wish they had more of those because I found myself seeing the repeats of a lot of things.
Gotcha.
But it's
small
yeah,
game.
it served its purpose. I enjoyed like I said, the hour and a half, 2 hours I played in it, and I had a lot of fun with it. I just don't know if I'll finish it just because it's not my type of game. There's a lot of pushing X to continue, and about halfway through a dialogue sequence, I'm like, okay. Next. I'm sure whatever I'm going to find out, I'm going to.
So I would probably like it more than you would.
Yeah, I'm thinking you would probably like it way more than I would.
Gotcha.
But it is cool. I would say pick it up. It's $8, like I said.
Good price.
In a local studio. I think it's worth
At
picking
least
up if you
watch
know
a trailer or something.
Yeah, if you know what you're getting into and know it's not going to be heavy gameplay. If it's story based, which is what it is, you'll probably like it. Cool.
So my game is almost exactly the same, actually. A very different approach to it, but it is completely dialogue based. You can do the whole game in one hand, and which was cool.
Masturbation is not a game, Tom.
That's true.
Take it serious.
It's not a game. It's championship. No, it's a game that just recently got released on the PS4, and that is called Far From Noise. And so it's one of the most bizarre yet most enjoyable experiences I've had with an indie game in a long time. Like I've had so much good luck with these indie games lately, like Count Lucanor.
Did you pick good ones?
Yeah, I guess. I mean, I don't know whether it's just like, because sometimes I'll buy it like with like sight unseen or
crazy concept. Indie games are good because they do something different.
That's true. I am quirky. I like quirky games. But this is super quirky. So the idea behind Far From Noise is that you are, at the beginning, you don't know whether you're male, female, boy, girl, adult,
You're
whatever.
in a car.
You're in a car, yeah.
Okay.
And your engine fails, and you end up on a cliff's edge, kind of just like teetering back and forth like a set piece in Uncharted, you know.
You having
like,
sex?
have to
Is it
jump out
bouncing?
of the back of it. Yeah, I don't know what's going on here. I got like a bird situation going. But so you're like teetering on the edge of a cliff face, and as you're there, you get these dialogue bubbles that pop up above you. The fuck was that?
That didn't sound good.
Well, the house might burn down, guys, but we're gonna keep going. It's really terrifying. So.
Sounds like you vaping.
Hey, I'm not though. That's the scary part. It's just like that's where the outlet is, so hopefully it's not too bad. Anyway, so you have these dialogue bubbles that pop up above your head, and they're usually like there's a lot of single boxes where like literally all you have to do is press X, or I learned that you can just press left or right on the D-pad to move past that dialogue, and then occasionally you'll get like 2 boxes, sometimes 3 boxes, and it's like you either press left, right, or up on the D-pad, and that's it. That's literally the only controls you need in the entire game. So I played the whole thing one-handed, and which was cool because I just got out of like a gigantic Skyrim session, so I was like, I just vape and play, you know? Like I had literally just set up on the couch, and I'm just like, this is cool. So I really enjoyed that aspect to it. But it is this weird, bizarre tale of you're on the cliff, and then after a lot of kind of like coming to terms with the fact that you're on a cliff, you get an elk or a stag, or a buck or a stag, sorry, that comes up to the car, and you're just kind of freaking out because you think, oh shit, he's gonna like ram the car or like fuck with me or do something, and because you're terrified.
It's actually
obviously.
a Patronus.
It might be, but you're like, but you know, it's certain death if you drop. Basically,
yeah.
You're talking like a massive cliff face, rocks below, ocean, the whole 10 yards. So you're sat there, and you're just like. And for whatever reason, you're kind of like funny, like a lot. You like take a lot of situations and make jokes out of them, which is really like the dialogue was fantastic. It was some of the best dialogue I've seen since Oxenfree, which is largely what drew me into it. But you find out that you are a female character, which is again a surprise because like it's just, I don't know. I wrote a review for it, which will be up at some point by the end of the week, but. It was kind of weird because like I felt like I couldn't tell if it was because I was projecting myself onto the character at the beginning that I thought that it was a man, or whether it's just like years, decades of having male protagonists that I thought it was a man. But when it was like, when I was a little girl, she says, and I was like, oh shit, like I didn't, I felt like an asshole for not even thinking it could have been a girl. But
you are an asshole.
Well, thank you. But anyway, you start sort of conversing with the stag, and you're just like, hey buddy, what's up, and then eventually it answers you back in this kind of weird floaty ethereal way.
Well, so is the stag a real stag, or is it like a figment of your imagination?
Great question. Still don't really know.
Okay.
So the stag's like, it just says something like, I don't know what it says. You ask it a question or something, and it just goes like, perhaps, or something like real casual, and you're like, whoa, like, and all the dialogue boxes come up like, whoa, what the fuck, like, and they're all just like, how do you respond to that? And then you eventually ask, hey, are you actually talking to me? Have I lost my mind? Is that, I'm on a cliff's edge, am I losing my mind, am I going insane? And he's like, no,
and he's like, yes,
I'm talking to you, like, this is legit. And so the idea is that you, as a person on this cliff face, know that you are teetering on the brink of death, and the stag is pretty nonchalant about the whole thing, and he's there to kind of give you hope and optimism and focus you on different things. Like, instead of focusing on the rocks below, he's like, focus on the horizon. And she's like, I don't see anything on the horizon. No, stare at the horizon. And then like the camera will pan around, the car like floats off the cliff, and then like you see the horizon, and it's literally like, it makes you do what he's telling you to do in game. Like if it asks you to shut your eyes, the screen will close, like that kind of stuff. And so he's kind of the counterbalance to the situation that you're in, and he's like your engine, basically, whenever you try and start it, doesn't work, and she knows that it has to cool down to get the engine to work. And the last time this happened, it took her all night, so she's going to be bouncing on this cliff all night. And he's like, well, you may as well enjoy it, So they're just like chatting, and they end up talking about everything. Like, you talk about like your aspirations as a little girl. There's other animals that come into the scene, like there's a turtle and a frog and a badger that show up, and they all like have their own little parts. And there's like even a part where she's talking about like made up constellations, like, she's looking at the stars and talking about the stars. And then she said that her and her like sister or whatever used to make up constellations and just make up backstories for them and everything. So like you're like bullshitting this stag, basically like, oh yeah, that's Sammy the snake or whatever. Mm-hmm. and then he joins in and makes up like a backstory for one, and it's so cute. Like, it's really, really nice. The art style is gorgeous, right, the whole thing, but it doesn't have to do much because it's like one scene. Mm-hmm. The entire game is one scene. You didn't get bored anytime during it? No. And that's the surprising part, because despite the fact that the entire game is just you on a cliff's edge, just like doing slight dialogue choices, is the only aspect of gameplay that's in there. I see it more as games as art. Mm-hmm. Like, I see it more as like making a point, interactive. Yeah, like an interactive. Like last day of June style. Yeah, which that still had some. Well, that was more gameplay. That had more gameplay. But here's the thing. Here's the allegory, though, is that from what I pulled out of it was that the whole thing seems to me to be about battling depression and battling suicide and battling anxiety and battling like failure and not feeling good enough and that kind of stuff. As you're playing it, you automatically kind of map your thoughts onto the character because you have to choose the dialogue. So you choose what you would say, right? Mm-hmm. Like, that's just how that works. Or you role play. But most people in those type of games choose what they would do. It doesn't first. There's not a lot of room for role play. It almost seems like it forces you to be on the cliff's edge. You know what I mean? Like, there's no like, oh, how would I play this if I was Hitler? Like, no, you have to be on the cliff's edge, and so you automatically are projecting yourself onto the character, and kind of. So in my head, this character, I did have like an image of what I imagined her to be, which is kind of this weird cross between Tina Fey and Amy Poehler, because she was like quick-witted and witty and stuff, and so I imagine like Tina Fey basically in the car talking to this deer, and but I was using like Tina Fey my thoughts, right? So, like, what was so creepy to me was that, like, she was talking about how she went to university and then she didn't like it. She turned around and came straight home. And I'm like, I did that. And then she talks about, like, there's an option of, like, what did she want to be when she grew up? And one of the options is a marine biologist, which was one of the things I wanted to be when I grew up. You want to be a whale biologist? A marine biologist. No, whale biologist. Not just whales, all of them. Do you know that the biggest penis in the animal kingdom is a blue whale? I did know that, yeah. Did you know their heart is as big as a car? Yeah. I knew that as well. There you go. That's one of the dialogue lines in the thing. So, so like there was a lot of like parts that just hit me really close to home, because me and you both deal with our own like levels of depression and anxiety and stuff, and I take medication for it. You have your own stuff going on. We already talked about the bipolar stuff and all that, and so it's kind of like, it was nice because by the end of the game, the sheer amount of fucking optimism the stag is thrown at you, like everything is twisted to be better, no matter how bad our situation is, no matter how bad things are, he always has an answer to it, and it's always just kind of like bigger picture stuff, you know what I mean? And so I played it with the thought that I was just going to go in, play 20-30 minutes, record some gameplay, do a review, what I usually do. I played the whole game through, and I didn't know how long it was, but I got to a point where I was so engrossed in what was going on that I didn't give a shit how long the game took to finish. I was going to finish it. Luckily, it was only an hour 20 minutes.
That's how I feel about Assassin's Creed right now, but it's a doozy.
Right. Well, it's shorter than Assassin's Creed, for sure. But just the idea that they had this kind of like, that everything about this game was speaking to me on a deeper level than any indie game that I can think of in recent memory. Because it's not a... It's
probably like Last Day of June. It really sounds like Last Day of June for me, because Last Day of June, like you said, there's games we play for the channel, and it's kind of like, oh, that looks fun, or that sounds fun, or it might be cool, or maybe that's my type of game, or whatever. But then there's these games that just get hooks into you, and like Last Day of June, I remember playing it, and we were getting up to the final chapter, and we were live streaming it. I was like, do you guys want me to finish? Because we were giving away keys, and I didn't want to ruin the ending, and I was like, no. And then it's so cool, because I was going to finish it, whether it was on stream or off stream, because... And I'm glad I finished it on stream, because it had a whole fuckery of an ending. Or dickery of an ending.
Dickery.
But it didn't dick with me. It just fucked with me. There's a difference. But that's what you hit that point of like, okay, I've come this far. I need to see what the payoff is, or what's going to happen.
And I knew that that I was only going to be pressing those two buttons for the entire game, because you figure out pretty quickly that there's nothing else that's going to happen. You're not suddenly going to have to drive the car or anything. Like, it's, and I knew that was what I was in for, but at the same time, it was so engrossing and so funny and so kind of cute, and it hit home in a big way, and it actually made me feel better. Like, like when it was done, I was like, you know what, life's okay. Like, it was really weird. And so it's a game that you can't review based off gameplay, because there's no gameplay, but you can only review it based off emotion and based off feeling. So the feeling that I got playing Far From Noise is just... It was a tranquil experience that reminds you about the best parts of life, and that even if you're balancing on a cliff's edge, that not everything is hopeless.
And you need, I feel like, from a game perspective, you need games like that. Yeah. You don't want all these bombastic... I mean, right now, I'm playing Destiny, you're playing Call of Duty, Skyrim VR came out, like lots of scary things, lots of murder, lots of things. You see that thing to kind of put perspective on things of like, you know what?
And that's some of the things that indie games do best. That's why I love doing the show, is that they have these kind of, you can do whatever you want to in an indie game. It's your game. So if you just want to have one scene, if you just want to have dialogue, that's perfectly fine.
That's like going back to the last week with the game Carol made, of like your dreams. Your dreams always going out and having to relight them. Like, to me, and it's going to sound, not all AAA games are like this, but to me, indie games tend to have more emotion into them based on the creators, because there's a smaller team doing it, so it feels like
more personal.
There's something there, and it's the stories are based off.
The team is a very small team. Like, when they roll the credits, you can tell that basically most of it was done by one guy. There's like some guy that did sound, and some other folks.
They usually hire people.
But
for stuff.
but like a lot of it seemed like it was done by one guy. I forget the dude's name, but I will actually have the entirety of that game and my playthrough, so you can delve into my psyche. It's about an hour and 20 minutes. The whole thing up, no commentary, so none of me like oohing and ahhing, just the whole thing silent. And I would say, if you don't play it, watch it, because I think that you'll enjoy it. I think it's one of those that reaches...
How much is it?
$8.
Oh.
Yeah.
We got $8 games this week.
Yeah, I know, right? So it's like...
That was totally unplanned.
Yeah, I know. So, and they're similar in nature as well. You know what I mean? It's like it's not really a traditional game. It is like a visual novel, or even like an indie movie. Yeah.
Let's use the VR word. It's an experience.
Yeah, it's an experience.
That's what it is.
But it's so well done, and I highly, highly recommend it. It's definitely not for everyone, because if you're not the type of guy that likes to sit there and tap dialogue for an hour and 20 minutes, you won't like it. But at the same time, if you are experiencing any level of anxiety or depression or anything, this $8 might actually make you feel better than a pill does. So it's definitely worth looking at. Really, really stunning little title, and I will be keeping a firm eye on anything that studio does from here on out. But yeah, highly recommend it, Far From Noise, and check out the review and the gameplay that's going up sometime this week.
Cool. Moving on. Normally we do a question here, but I'm going to do a topic of discussion.
Okay.
So we've talked for a little while now that we need to get our games of the years going on. This is not that. This is
because I don't have any.
Yeah. This is I was like,
you can't spring that on shit on me in the middle of recording.
This is because I couldn't narrow all this down. I'm gonna just talk about some indie games that came out this year that I think are really good. And I sent you the list, and you sent me a couple things back. And if there's anything you want to add, it sounds like Far From Noise is going to be on that list as well.
Far From Noise is on there. Count Lucanor is definitely on there.
So this is the list that I came up with. Limelight, absolutely loved. I think everybody should go pick it up. Yeah, that was early. I had to look it up. It was early this year.
God damn.
Yeah. Like it was early this year. Like I think January 23rd.
Yeah.
So like
that was like the dying light of this year. It was like this stellar thing that came out in January that we've completely forgot about by the time we got to December.
Yeah, Limelight, if you haven't played it, it's basically you are a light and you follow a line and you solve puzzles and they get more advanced.
Really
Everybody that has watched a live stream, or everybody who's watched gameplay of it, or anybody who's watched me play it has been like, this game should not be as good. It has no business being as good as it is. And I love that because it's the truth. Like, it's such a simple concept that they did so well.
No instructions, just
go.
Just go, and they
solve it as you go
explain it all visually.
Yep.
It's incredible.
Next one is Echo, which was one I think you spotted last week.
Yeah, Echo was great.
That looked really cool. It caught my eye immediately. I have not downloaded it yet, but I'm interested to get into that.
Great
Golf
game.
Story, another one that you reviewed, absolutely loved.
Amazing game.
Do you have anything to say on that guy? Because I haven't played it yet. So
if you have a Switch, get it. There's no more things to say than that. I mean, basically, you have this kind of weirdly sort of perfect traditional 8 to 16-bit crossover RPG on a Switch, which, like Nintendo's bread and butter was RPGs back in the day alongside Mario and stuff, but just this perfect nostalgic throwback to a good RPG, but they mix in the mechanic of golfing, which is always a fun mechanic to fuck around with anyway. Like, a lot of people play golf games that don't play golf, like us included. And, so it was kind of...
I play golf.
When was the last time you played golf?
When I go to Florida with my family, we play.
When was that?
2 years ago.
Yeah, you don't play golf, so it's one of those things where like it just combines two mechanics that have or two genres even that have no right to work together, but they absolutely do in this setting, and it's funny. So
I went to golf camp.
And it was
Does that
cheap.
count? I went to golf camp.
No, it doesn't count.
Wow, golf camp was fun.
I almost hit my 2 years ahead. It doesn't count.
I almost hit my friend in the head with a golf ball at golf camp.
That's why you're not allowed to play golf
Well, I was driving. He was mad at me because something happened, and I went to go hit the ball on a drive, and it went shunk right over his head. He's like, woohoo!
Yikes.
Next game, probably the biggest one that everybody talks about, Cuphead. The art style is amazing. Can't say enough about it. This is a game that made people buy Xboxes, and I think Microsoft has kind of just built upon that right now with with Cuphead coming out, the One X coming out, and then I don't know if you've seen any footage of Assassin's Creed on a One X.
No.
Or any Forza. Dude, it is like... I've worked with 4K video before, and I've worked with 4K assets before, but you forget how pretty things are. It also shows the issues more as well. But I was just completely like, holy fuck. Yeah. So...
Do you have a 4K TV?
No.
Okay.
I went to the Microsoft store and tried it out because I wanted to see if it was worth it.
Well, the thing about Cuphead that I think was a weird win for the game was that it instantly hit meme status like right off the bat. Like, which is, I know it sounds crazy that like hitting meme status can suddenly like make a game go crazy.
Well, streamers were playing it too because it became that thing of like, this is so hard, I've got to beat it to show to my friends that I'm not. It's
difficult.
bad at games.
Yeah, difficult enough to maintain people's attention. They're already selling Cuphead T-shirts in Hot Topic.
They're making Cuphead Funko Pops now.
Right, they're making the Funko Pops. They have like there's a million memes about the game, and it's just like it's at this kind of like cultural status thing right now, where like it's just a talking point, and it's like, have you played Cuphead? And I unfortunately haven't yet, but it's definitely. I think it's definitely head and shoulders above a lot of the other indie titles this year based upon that alone. It's almost AA based.
I
purely
mean, it
off
had
how it's
it had
been received.
Microsoft money behind it,
Which
so
is true.
that does help.
Which is true.
Um,
I'm sure they signed a bunch of deals and tried to push it with a bunch of companies, but
Yeah.
it was worth it though, because like this isn't a case of Microsoft pushing a bad product. This is Microsoft pushing a really good product that needed the push. So you can't be mad at them.
Next one, Escapist 2. We've done a few live streams of this. I love this game. Crafting. I love yelling at Tom that he went the wrong way and he should go back to bed because the card's
here's
going
the
to get
thing.
caught.
You want to be a prisoner. I don't want to be a prisoner. I want to get the fuck out of there as fast as
I
possible.
want to make sure we're prepared to get out.
Yeah, but you got to know how to get out first.
No, because you got to be prepared to get out.
How can you prepare if you don't know
You
what
just
you're
hoard
preparing
everything.
for?
You just hoard everything.
Yeah,
That's how you do it. Next one, Yonder Chronicles. I still have not got back and finished this game. This is like, I have a folder now on my PS4 that says games I need to go back to, and this is in that folder.
Okay.
I've played probably close to, I would say probably 10 hours, maybe a little less than that, maybe 8 of this game, and I still love it. Like, every time I walk in, I'm confused every time because it's usually like 3 weeks in between when I've played. I was like, what was I doing?
It's the worst. I hate that.
But I do love hopping back in and be like, once you get, okay, this is what I was doing, or this is where I need to go, this is what I've got, you're like, oh, do this, do that, do that. And I still want to see what the ending is. I'm intrigued to see what it is. They're adding more and more stuff as they go along. It sounds like this was not only a critical success, but commercially successful for Prideful Sloth. First game ever, which is kind of cool. They're ex AAA devs, so they knew what they were doing.
Props to them. Yeah.
So I need to go back and play it. They're still tweeting. They're still doing. If you want a giveaway of it, they're still, they do that every so often on their thing. And who does not like a Gruffalo?
I don't know what a Gruffalo is, but I assume they're cute.
It's cute. It's a picture of buffalo, but really cute because buffaloes aren't cute.
Okay.
Next one, as we've said before, last day of June. Love this game.
Big one for you.
I don't want to ruin the ending, but
It's on your poster over there.
there's a lot of fuckery on the ending. It was one of those games that you knew something was happening and you expected something to happen, but then something twisted and then it twisted again. So each plot twist, you kind of, looking back, you could have seen it. And I know our friend Jessie was watching along with me on the live stream, and she's like, I saw one of them, but I didn't see the other ones. And at one point, you're like, literally the whole chat. If you go check out our stream, because I've got the chat on the screen back when I did that, and the whole chat was like, what the fuck is going on? Like, what is happening? Because you go through in the game, you have these paintings, and you got to basically prevent this couple from dying. And you go to each painting, which is a different person in the world, to fix what they did to cause the couple to die. But at the end, one of the paintings goes away and just becomes evil, and you're just like, what is happening? And then from there, just all hell broke loose, and I'm like, what am I supposed to be doing? And it was great, and the payoff to me, unlike Firewatch, was worth it. It was one of those games that built itself up really nicely, nice and slow, and then got the landing really well done. It was kind of cliche, one part of the ending, but the other part I did not see coming, that I was like, holy shit.
Happy ending?
I don't want to ruin it. I mean, that kind of does right there. It depends on what you consider happy ending. I'm just going to say that. Air is the next one. Air. I finished that game. That's one I actually went back and finished.
Cool.
This was kind of like Firewatch. Didn't really stick the landing.
Oh, really?
So
That's a shame.
Yeah, the way Air works is you go to these different temples, and if you haven't watched the gameplay, it's up on our channels along with a review. But the way Air works is you are flying around, you have these different temples you go to unlock powers to then go beat the boss. Well, when you get to the boss, and this potential spoilers, but not really, because you don't do anything. You don't do anything when you get to the boss. He was cool when he showed up. Like, so you walk into this final, there's a pillar in the middle of the world that you just go into, and you walk through, and your light source that's been following you the whole time is telling you the story of the thing. It's like, this is where I've got to stop. You're on your own. You've got to finish what you've started. And then the light source absorbs into your body. You then see the giant boss. You walk to a cliff, and the boss does like a Colossus type thing, where it's just like, and it's there, like right in front of you. And it was terrifying and cool looking at the same time. It was terrifying because I didn't expect it just to pop up, but it's so cool looking. I'm like, oh, are we gonna have a battle, or are we gonna have some sort of choice? Or are we gonna have puzzle? Because the game's all puzzles, so I assume there's gonna be some sort of puzzle to knock him out.
Yeah.
And no, you watch a cutscene, you go up to him, and you go, and he dies. That's it. That's how the game ends. And I was just like, there should have been something there.
I thought there was no combat in the game. Apparently your dude is mega powerful. Just touches things.
Just touches things and dies. Yeah. Yeah, but there was no combat up to that point, so I didn't expect there to be like a sword fight or something like that. But I expected there to be something at the end because you're building up to this evil,
Right.
and then it's like touch you with the light and you're dead. And I was like, oh,
It's a bit of a letdown.
yeah.
They should at least let you have done like some quick time event or something to do it.
That's what I'm, just something.
Yeah.
And I also kind of wish they had like the temples were the best part of the game. And in my review, I think I stated this. If not, I'm stating it now. I wish they had more temples.
Yeah.
Those were the best parts. Flying was fun, exploring the world was fun, but the temples are where the puzzles all are, and it is so much fun inside of those things. Like they remind me of Zelda-esque temples to the point where they're hard but not frustrating unless you're doing the water temple.
Yeah.
So
Fair play.
next one, you played this one, Detention.
Yeah.
You got anything to say about it?
Sure, Detention was hands down one of my surprises of the year. That'll definitely be somewhere in my list of games, especially for the indie ones anyway. I assume I don't think we're doing like a normal top 10. I mean, are we doing like top 10 indie, top 10 VR or something like that?
Yeah.
But yeah, Detention was a nice surprise because I had played the week before Coma Recut, which kind of introduced me to this very bizarre style of horror game where it was all 2D scrolling classroom based.
You're welcome.
Yeah, thanks for that. And it was cool, and I really enjoyed Coma. But the way that Detention worked was it took that concept and just actually made it creepy. Because Coma was just kind of like, it was all like shock horror cartoon stuff. Like it wasn't really ever at any point scary. But Detention was like quite nerve wracking at a lot of parts. As a guy that plays a lot of horror and rarely gets shaken, for a 2D game especially, it was kind of like, I was surprised at how much it got me in places.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it's super, super gory in some parts. Some of the monsters are fantastic looking. Just really smart. The story was amazing. Beautiful art style, very unique art style, like almost like paper cutouts. But yeah, just a wonderful, wonderful game. I would highly recommend it to anyone that's a horror fan.
Cool. Next one, we're not going to say much on it because most people already know about it. I'm waiting for a Switch to buy it. Sonic Mania.
Yeah, good times.
Best Sonic game that's come out in a long time.
Good times.
Want to pick it up?
I really enjoyed it.
So, next one after that is Nidhogg 2. I still need you to play this because I think it'd be a lot of fun to play 2-player. It's just a stupid
Maybe
game
we'll do
that
it
you pick
on
up
the
live. That's what I was thinking.
Yeah.
Just fun game to pick up, stab people, run away, stupid shit.
Okay.
What video games are made for. A lot of fun. Second to last one, I have two more. Old time hockey. This reminded me. The game itself is not great, but it was the nostalgic strings that got me.
Yeah.
So
I had fun with it.
It was more of the I played Wayne Gretzky 3D hockey. It reminded me of that arcade style game, and it took itself seriously when you're playing the game, but didn't take itself seriously in presentation, which I loved. It's over the top, all that kind of stuff. So I really really loved playing that one, but I can say I haven't gone back to play it because it is a bit janky. The controls are not quite what I'd want it to be, but the feel is amazing. I could see if I was hanging out in a dorm room or hanging out with friends playing couch co-op, that is the best game to play when it's just stupid. And last one, and this is one I've actually gone back and continued to play and have played pretty much on and off in between Destiny and now Assassin's Creed and Skyrim VR is happening, and then all these other big games. Battle Chasers: The Night War. Night War.
Yeah, you were surprised by that one, weren't you?
Yeah. And I can honestly say I'm enjoying my time in it. The problem I have with it is it's starting to get to the repetitive nature.
Gotcha.
The story's good, but it's basically you're like any game. You do this thing, you walk over here, he tells you to go over here, you fight a boss, come back, oh, you got to go over here. And then in between there's character or things you run into that always pop up.
Standard
they just get in your
RPG
way.
fare.
Like, yeah.
Fetch quests, etc.
Yes. So that's the issue I have with it, but I really love it. I love the mechanics. I'm getting to the point where I have enough powers that it's fun to kind of be like, okay, you're my healer 100% of the time, or I want to make sure I use this power at this point. And there's one I just fought one of the bigger bosses, and when you're walking from world to world, those fights should be easy, which they are. I can knock them out in probably 2 or 3 turns. Well, 2 or 3 characters, not actual full turns. But when you fight the boss, like there's one, like I had to use potions and I had to use this guy. It's like, oh shit, I should probably plan out my attacks now at this point when you're fighting these big bosses. And the coolest part that I've run into is, again, the dungeons. Like there's dungeons you go into, and it's one of those things where you can explore the whole dungeon and get all the unlockables, and there's hidden treasure chests and all that kind of stuff, which I find fun. And it gives you a map when you look, when you somewhere in the dungeon, there's a map you can have to see what you've missed.
Gotcha.
Which I like. And it's usually towards the end, so if you want to go back through before you get out, you can do that. And I like that aspect of it. But the puzzles inside the dungeons, how to go through, like you could go this way, but if you go that way, you're going to run into this, that you have to flip a switch down here. And there's some backtracking, but a lot of the backtracking doesn't feel bad in the dungeon because it's more of you went up here to do something to go back down here, and it's only like 2 screens away. What I hate, though, is the enemies always respawn. So it's like you could have just killed somebody, gone up here, and you can't really heal yourself inside. Makes sense inside the dungeon, except for your characters have special abilities they can do, but after you use them 5 times, they're worn out until you go take a rest and get them refilled. So I have my healer out and about, and then before the final boss, I always save one of those heals to make sure everybody's full health going into it, because you don't want to leave and then come back, because then you're fighting people again. So it's like there's no way to cheese it.
I hate respawns.
But
I think if you kill everything, that it should stay dead.
Yeah.
I don't mind it like in an open world game, but in a dungeon, like no. If I killed everything, let it stay dead.
Yep. Yeah. I agree. So, do you have anything to add to that list?
I do. Count Lucanor, I would definitely add. That game shocked the hell out of me.
Comes out this week.
Yeah, it was out Tuesday. But Count Lucanor is that kind of Undertale style game that's a mix of horror and RPG. Really cleverly done. Very weird feeling game. Like the whole time you're playing it, everything seems off. And I like that because it was like, it is kind of a horror game at heart. So I kind of like the fact that like shit would just pop up and surprise me. And, the way they start the horror aspect of the game is by like a bunch of devil goats surrounding a decapitated head on a stump. And you're just like, okay, like that's how we're starting this, guys. But yeah, Count Lucanor was fantastic. Really unexpected to be as good as it was. I'm glad they changed up the art when they did the full release of it for the thumbnail, because it looks more attractive now than it did when it was just the blue cobalt. And Ace of Seafood was interesting. That wasn't too bad. I don't know if I put it in a game of the year list, but I definitely had a good time with it. And
it's a game you enjoyed that came out this year.
Yeah, it was a really, really decent time. I mean, it's one of those things where I kind of I wished for the Switch, but I just wanted to review it. I would potentially pick it up again for the Switch because it is perfect for short bursts, and I think that the longevity is there, because you can hop in, hop out, and just keep trying to take control of your reef with your fish crew. But clever game, really clever, the mechanics and everything, like that you're breeding fish and stuff, even though you are a fish. But your fish is shooting lasers, so like you suspend some level of
It's a video game
reality.
for the sake of being a video game.
Oh yeah, it relishes in being a video game. And then, of course, Far From Noise, which was a super surprise for me how good that one as well. Like I said, I got really lucky the last couple of weeks with the indie games, so I would add those.
Yeah, another local one that I didn't put on this list, but Smugglecraft came out this year as well.
It's a good time.
Enjoyed it. The problem I had with that is I couldn't do multiplayer because the online servers weren't the greatest. Just player based, I think, is what it is you couldn't find a race very often. But single player, when I played it, was a lot of fun. I just I did it, now I'm done type thing. So it was enjoyable when I played it, but that's about it.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's Indie Please Add Details, episode 14. What was one of your favorite indie games, or what's your favorite indie games that came out this year? What's something that we may have missed that came out this year? Because there's I feel like thousands of indie games.
Yeah, we only cover like one each a week, and which is actually like more than I thought we would, because on VR we mostly only do one. But yeah, it's still something that I'm learning to love more and more. I think this podcast is great. I love doing the indie stuff and highlighting some of these things that people don't get to see. And I think just my experience with like the last 4 or 5 games that I've played, like alone, make this all worth it.
Yeah.
So I would say let us know in the comments if there's something you've played that we need to play. If you are a developer and you want us to check out your game, you can hit us at, is it devs or dev? Devs at level2gamers.com. Send us your stuff, man. I mean, that's what Count Lucanor did, and it turned out to be one of the best things that I played this year. So feel free to send your games our way. Of course, we are primarily PS4, but if it is like Mac playable or PC playable, just let us know, and sometimes we can work around that stuff.
Cool. We do have some housekeeping. We talked about it earlier, but we are doing a charity live stream.
Yeah, let's talk about that.
December 5th and 6th.
5th and 6th.
We're trying to figure out start time still, but it's going to be 24 hours long.
Tentatively, I have it at 1 p.m. because I think it's like a pretty decent time to do it. And then I also don't want to be doing it like till 5 p.m.
The
that
next
day.
day.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I want to get some rest. But
Yeah.
yeah. So 24-hour live stream.
You're hosting at this time. I'm gonna be here falling asleep on you.
I'm the only one that has to stay awake. Is the secret. Although you're welcome to try if you want to.
No.
I think I'm gonna do it. You know why? Because
I'll be here to kick you if you don't.
Don't get sleepy in Skyrim VR. I've learned that. I stayed up till 3 o'clock the other night.
Yeah, but you're not gonna play
it.
Skyrim for 24 hours.
No, but I can play it when you go to sleep, and it'll keep me
The
awake.
worst. So from my experience, the worst time frame is basically the 3 to 6 a.m.
Right.
That's the worst.
And
time frame.
I was up until 3 playing Skyrim VR the other day, and I didn't break a sweat. I could have.
Well, I think you just lost power. We're still recording.
We're still recording. We should probably wrap it up, though.
So that's not good.
Terrifying. All right.
But anyways,
well, we'll leave it at that.
24-hour live stream, guys.
24-hour live stream, 5th to the 6th. Thank you so much for watching. And,
as
always,
welcome to the second level. Bye, guys.
But they saying welcome to the second level.